where you were able to see that they crack?
I think Nemesis started to talk really fast around the Octocon as they saw a pinch point to actually
He
fight
got
back
nervous.
against the Hangry Knights. Not nervous, more like when it is your chance in League of Legends, and this applies to plenty of other games that are like on a fixed time scale. You know, you get more powerful as you go on. You got to take the moment. There isn't a second chance. There isn't a second big spawning objective that conveys that much power. The Gwen ban there, that's the little bit of wow,
Yeah,
setup for Baus, defense for Baus, though.
I think the thing that was getting to them as they are picking up that Pantheon, like you said earlier, love to see it. I think it's not necessarily the mistakes or the slip ups that got to them, but missed potential, unrealized potential that is really it can really tick them off a little bit.
Yeah,
that can get into your head.
Yeah,
that
for
you
sure.
have to be careful. So let's see what they come out with in this draft. We already talked about the Pantheon. Since our next, not really surprised, but still something we haven't seen.
Leah? Are they going to give over to Leah? Is my question now.
Yeah, that's a big
Right,
one for
with
random.
Pantheon still out there. I'm kind of surprised that Nemesis is not picking it up.
I think the Syndra sort of precludes Talia to a stage. You now have to be a little further away, a little safer. Talia, for all her denial, is a little bit closer to the action.
Definitely, but against the Xin Zhao, it's making it so tough to follow up on those engages when he goes in, or even earlier to prevent the Xin Zhao to really, become glued upon those carries. There it is.
They can do the Talia. It's a fantastic 2v2, but you are against maybe the best Syndra in the world. Serious risk attached to those picks. But we saw Random and Rabble start off the last game as the big engine for the Hangry Knights. And, if they're going to go and buy land, they might as well buy it in the same place this game. The Cho'Gath hover is pretty deep. That is inviting a bit of chaos from Baus. So instead, a flexible Tristana still.
Yeah, no, if I were going to take it up against the best Syndra in the world, then I would like to bring a friend. That's all I'm going to say.
I liked it, but it does make sense. And I'll be honest, I am a little bit excited about this Syndra pick,
right?
Because I don't have to play against it though, so I don't know how Kaufland feels right now. But let's see. And we talked a lot about Baus as well, and when we were watching the game, so it's going to be interesting what he will play as well.
And the much thought over Cho'Gath, not a huge shock for the lock-in. Hangry Knights didn't take it away from Baus. In the end, and may come to regret it, second phase of bans can either prop him up by removing the Ambessa and some other tank shredders here, or they could just double down on getting that support over the line. It will be that removal, so we expect the Ambessa B5 ban for Lost Ratones.
Yeah, and once again, what is your answer gonna be if that is the case? Is there a pick that is locked and loaded for Veneur? I mean, he was having a good early game and he had a mid game, and then then the game was over. Right? So he could get ahead. He could get ahead. They couldn't translate it. It's not necessarily his fault. It's a team game, of course, but it just goes to show that even when your top laner is ahead on something as powerful as a Rumble, it might not be the guaranteed ticket you're looking for.
Definitely. I feel like there's always this aspect of team play. We always have to remember it, and in solo queue as well, guys. Always write that down. I don't know, Temporal, I'll be honest, we haven't worked that much together yet. I feel like you look confused again. I don't know if that's just...
and best is open.
Jax is a ban of all time. Venuri is very good at these melee bruises, incredible Irelia, but you don't see that penetrate competitive to such a degree because it's not as useful as an Ambassador that I am fully expecting to be slammed on blue for. The Hangry Knights moving towards removing the hyper carries, so they're sort of double dipping here.
But put yourself in the shoes of Lost Ratones, right? You can just imagine Baus only yapping about AP Jax and how strong it is. That it's actually brainwashing his team into banning it. It's
yeah, it's a struggle. It's a
struggle. Like ban it just to make it stop, guys. Just this is a ban for mental.
All right, so it's not about the flexibility and what the enchanter will be supporting, because we've got that in now. The Xayah, so a little evasion. Hangry Knights will not be able to pop up an entire team, as the Xayah will be able to come over to their setup. Yeah. not the end of the world either way. Coming through over Syndra would be nice, and Reckless is an amazing Rakan. Can't have Lulu into it, but you've still got Renata, and the Hangry Knights will be coming forwards.
And think of the triple threat duo with the Pantheon Grand Skyfall, right? And the Weaver's Wall. You're just such a mobile death squad moving all over the map. And I think that is exactly what I was hoping to see from Kaufland. So I would be absolutely delighted to see Wisdom pick it up. Instead, getting the Nico, it's not bad, but I would have loved to see the Rakan here.
It's been a trend amongst Prime League sides to go for the engage, and if you don't, it's like some of these fruity haha got you picks that aren't full engage. The Nico's one of them. Blitzcrank has been Wisdom's second go-to, Bard on the list. So that is their flavor of creativity.
On Los Ratones, right? With the Scatter the Weak, with the Silences. I think it's a really tough Nico game. You're gonna have to be very creative with your angles, and I think the vision control that Los Ratones have been putting down the entire game are gonna make this very, very difficult.
I still wanted the Blitzcrank, but it does sack off bottom lane, and it means Yescala will be in trouble. So the Hangry Knights want their solid carries, and they're not willing to throw away lanes to make it happen. That's a bit more integrity than I would display.
Interesting draft is true. I want just a really quick sum up of this draft and how the game will look like. What are both these teams trying to achieve? Early, late, everything. Bandit, hit me up.
I think you got the Kaufland Death Squad running around here, right? With the Tristana insurance policy. If they can get the snowball rolling, Tristana can buster shot at home.
Temporal, yes or no? Is Kaufland going to win this game?
I'm sorry, boys. It's going to be a real struggle. I love watching you all play, especially random Bisons in my heart forever. I think they've got a tough deal here. They have really got to try and run with the ball early and hope that the Tristana insurance policy comes in 3 items nice and fast. They push Los Ratones over their average game time in game 1. That's an accolade all of its own. They got to push it faster. 4 minutes over isn't enough. We got to see 6 minutes under and a win. The Pantheon rabble, even more rousing than in the first game. Maybe they'll catch Crowny out with this Nico, but it's going to be tricky.
Man, you really set the bar, didn't you?
And I got a maybe, so let's see what this game will show us. Los Ratones with the second game against Kaufland.
Thank you, guys, so much. I think Bisons is in all of our hearts, still in there. I agree with Temporal on that one, because Bisons, that was a fun team. Historically with Random and Merwin, and everyone was just playing absolutely crazy stuff. As we can see, a little bit of a 4-man stack, I want to say, since Reckless is still on his way out of base from Los Ratones here. But nothing crazy going to happen. Baus now on the way up towards that top lane.
Minions have spawned.
And wards have been placed. That's about it for this early shenanigans, if you even want to say that. But
could have been interesting if somebody makes a horrible mistake and manages to walk into that bush where there are 5 members of Los Ratones. If you are a Prime League fan, you're going to be very happy that that didn't end up happening.
Oh, thank God, honestly. But I gotta be honest here, it's going to be really hard. We do have some comfort picks. Again, Random, very, very strong on the Talia. Venur, an absolute machine on Ambessa, has played that. Probably, that's his most played champion in Prime League, right? So he has played it several times. Really has a very strong performance on it all the time. Wisdom, with one of his more recent special picks that he enjoys, has had the chance to turn games around with it, but I think the desk already mentioned it. It's going to be really hard with the Nico against the Scatter and also like a Crescent Guard. Where do you even want to go here?
It's very much going to be on either Wisdom to have the big flash to be able to just get into the backline all of a sudden when they're not expecting it for Los Ratones and find the big ulti there, or to use a couple of those different forms, you know, sneak his way into the backline potentially. I think if you're running straight at Los Ratones right here, there's way too much to be able to just stop Wisdom from putting down what he wants to. For right now, though, you can just use the early priority that Nico provides you in lane to really start to bully out the Los Ratones. And we saw it in the previous game, right? The early game looked good from Kaufland. The early game has always looked good from Kaufland, and Los Ratones, they've had some weak ones. Potential for a gank here, though, from Baus.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's a typical. Yeah, it's a typical random thing. You just want to lose your flash early because wise men have said once you lose it earlier, you'll get it back sooner. Something like that. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it.
I
As
like it.
is.
I like that way of thinking about it. But to be
Right?
fair, what I like a little bit more is the way that Baus is playing this early game. We saw it in the previous game as well, where Rabble tries to go get a little bit of steal onto the chickens, and Baus immediately comes down and gets involved in that lane. In this one, he manages to get that early flash away from the Talia, and it's not like you're playing into something with a lot of mobility right here, like the Azir in the previous game. The Talia can push you away, but can't get away herself, so not having the flash for this early laning phase, not going to be ideal. Still, it is very much going to be on Kaufland to find these early game plays. Right now, Rabble heading towards this bottom lane Scuttle Crab. Velia going to recognize that he does not win this 1v1, especially not when you've got a little bit of a push happening in the bottom lane. So he's just going to head up towards the top side of the map, pick up that Scuttle Crab for himself, and things remain relatively even so far, as we would expect at this point in the game. These early skirmishes, though, are going to look good from Kaufland, especially once those level 6s are ticked, and then you can use the roaming potential that you've got between that Grand Star Pool and that Weaver's Wall to get involved in these fights quicker than Los Ratones can rotate around.
We have seen it work out really, really well for several teams already in this tournament. This combination of Pantheon Talia has been played a lot around the entire world. Huge prior on that. I think it's a big takeaway for Kaufland that they are able to play that. However, there is a whole lot of disengage on the side of Los Ratones as Venur has to be careful, still has the flash available. Also, he is an ambassador, so he can dash for ages, but he messed up his flashes, being knocked up underneath the turret. Both flashes used though from Velia and Baus. So I'm not gonna say that's worth it, but it's at least something.
Yes, you managed to get a couple of those key engage tools away. The flashes absolutely had to come through, and now Baus going to be forced back to base. Actually, he's just going to get flashed and taken down. Rabble finds the angle, and that's really going to suck for him, because that's going to be a pretty big minion wave he's going to miss a couple of pieces of right here. Baus going to be forced to TP back into this lane, but Rabble, he's more than happy to just keep stepping up and tries to push Velia out of his own jungle here, steal away a couple of camps. This is brilliant for the jungler here of Kaufland.
Yeah, and Velia especially very, very low here. Not really anything he can do, but Venur in the proxy as well. Easy to move that same way if he needs to. And now Rebel not going to find much more. Velia doing a great job at obviously farming his jungle, not leaving a lot open for the enemy to take. As Rebel is now also going for the backport.
With this Pantheon, you really cannot sit back. You've got to be aggressive with this champion. Falls off so hard in the later stages. We sometimes talk about champions like Jhin not really being able to do too much in the late stages of the game unless you're very far ahead. Well, Pantheon is kind of the pinnacle of that play style. So far, pick yourself up that early kill. Gonna feel great. Like you said, a couple of camps stolen away as well. I was wondering if potentially Nemesis was going to roam up. He had a good push going on, so he could have roamed up to that play, tried to catch out Rabble if he wanted to. Instead, chooses to just get a little bit more farm for himself in the mid lane, not lose any of that priority he's had so far. I think that's the right decision overall. To watch a little bit of a Baus special in the top lane, but what I'm looking at a little bit more right now is the bot side of the map, because we do have a Drake available.
Yep, Drake is up and Rebel has already started it. Probably poked into that one over the wall as he's now trying to take it. And Baus again doing what he does. It's the proxy monster, of course. I think you would expect that for Kaufland Hangry Knights. Everyone has seen it before as Wisdom finds a very nice double route here onto Reckless and Crowny. And now the Hangry Knights really have to find something here. Venur not able to TP down, neither is Baus. So it is a 4v4 situation. But the Drake is going to reset, and Rebel knows he's too low in life. He cannot forcefully commit to that. And yeah, that's that. That's that for them. The big question I have as well is also who's going to kill Baus in the later stages of the game?
Yeah, you really are hoping right here that Jessica's going to be in a good spot. If he's not far enough ahead, if he doesn't have a good couple of items of crit under his belt, he's going to struggle quite heavily with getting through Baus. At the moment, isn't really going to be tanky. It's going to take a little while for him to be able to get online fully. Until that moment, though, he's going to be having to, again, try find these early plays. The anti-synergy come through. And this is something we talk about a lot, actually, and is worth mentioning. You often see the Ambassador paired up with heavy point-and-click CC champions, like the Pantheon, like, I don't know, anything that you could just stop your enemies in their tracks. The Rise, often a good example as well. any champion that has CC but pushes them away, bad, because it's already really hard to land that public execution. You like to land it onto an already stunned up target. Trying to play it alongside somebody who's going to have a seismic shove happening sucks. And that really is just such a bad look for Kaufland, because that was a good pick moment. That could have been a great pick right there onto Nemesis. Instead, they completely miss out onto that. They don't even blow the flash away from him, and they just have to walk away with nothing to show for that Roamer.
You know, the thing is also, we're always joking about how the public execution for Venur is not a skill shot but point and click, just because he's usually playing it really well, but in that scenario, you said it, anti-synergy at its best. Didn't really work out for him. Now a little bit under pressure in this top lane as well, as we can see both junglers hovering around, and Rebel really going for that enemy jungle here. I guess he found out that Velia is also a big carry jungler, has a lot of carry potential within him. And now they're going at it one-on-one in this jungle, but with Rebel being very far down in life, and obviously the Crescent Guard giving you that fake tankiness, it's an easy play made here for Velia, who picks up that kill. And let's be honest, he deserved it. I think Rebel overstayed his welcome just a little bit.
Significantly too far, right? You can steal away that blue buff and then you have to just turn around and walk away. You don't even have enough of a push in your mid or your bot lane to think that you're gonna have a bit of support from the rest of your members. It feels already like Rebel is kind of scrambling to get himself into a good spot in this game, desperately trying to get ahead enough to be useful for his team. That's what happens when you're playing against a team of such quality as Los Ratones. Despite the fact you're not massively far behind, teams still feel the pressure to make these proactive plays. And that does just leave this bottom side of the map way open right here for Los Ratones. They're going to be happy about that one. And it looks like currently the main focus is going to be on towards this Drake. Of course, we do have some grubs to play around as well. Good knock up.
That was really nice as the charm also connects onto Wisdom. Manages to stay alive. But not really anything you can trade back, as random throwing stones, but not really hitting anyone. Just me at most of the demonstrations I went to as a teenager. Kidding, of course, I never did that. What do you mean? Baus now finding Jeskla in the top lane. Jeskla has to be a bit careful because Baus is 2 levels up on him, but he's just firing away. Baus doesn't really care, you know, he's just doing what he always does. Takes the wave. If he dies, that's fine, you know. That's just his thing. Wisdom misses the route. Now Rebel has to move in as well. They're committing 3 members to even get the kill, whilst the wave is still pushing. Drake has been taken for Los Ratones.
The Drake. Yeah, that's the thing, right? You still get the pushing wave of the top lane, as you pointed out exactly, Melee, and you're drawing multiple members to the top side to get the Drake for the rest of your team. This is why it's the Baus special. Yeah, he dies, but we're going to call that one a good death in this situation. You can see beginnings of first items being completed right here. We're going to be able to pick up the grubs right now for Kaufland, so they're not going to be too far behind. Barely a gold advantage right here for Los Ratones, but the thing is they've got themselves a very early game focused jungler who hasn't really been able to find much of an advantage right now. That's what you need to be worried about here for Kaufland. The rest of your lanes are actually doing fine for themselves, and the 1 kill currently sat on Jeskla is going to feel pretty good.
To be honest, I think especially for that Tristana, who's now completed the Yuntal, it's going to be really important to have these 3 Void Grubs. Okay, it's 2 Void Grubs. Never mind. Actually, you know what? It doesn't matter. What I was going to say is that it matters because, you know, she does have the ability to take down turrets relatively fast. She has a great wave clear. With it only being 2 Void Grubs, it doesn't really matter just as much. But it's still nice to have. It's nice to not give it all over. It's fine. But yeah, it's not going to be easy. I think they need to find an answer to the split push that Baus is going to put on the map eventually. He's already doing that with always going back into the proxy, forcing Venur away, as well as they're now coming in with the ultimate Rebel in the area. They're picking up another kill on Baus, but for what? For what?
I mean, hey, they picked themselves up Fit of Warfare. That's not going to be the end of the world. And the thing is, with these global ultis available to you for Kaufland, you're able to deal with the Baus's push just a little bit easier. What they're going to lose on the backside of this play is a couple of plates going over to Crowny and Reckless, so not the end of the world. And you're eventually going to be able to get a push through, and this strategy gets a little bit harder to execute the later in the game we get, as Baus has a few more levels under his belt and the death timer gets a little bit longer. We'll have to keep tracking it, right? It is still going to be annoying to deal with, and very good teams have had real struggles with trying to stop Baus. But
well, they want to go in, but Crescent Guard doing a lot of work. We're looking for the Pop Blossom. Pop Blossom coming up, and now it's up to Jeskla. Jeskla is a bit far in front, and the ultimate from Random doesn't work out at all. He doesn't actually go for the surf here. there for ADC, down. And not really anything Kaufland can do to gain anything back. Random might be looking for more here, but Wisdom has to be careful. Doesn't have the ultimate, cannot step way further forward, so I think this is more of a wave clear into disengage.
Yeah,
rather
very
than
much
an
so.
actual fight.
I almost, head in a microwave for a second, almost understand why Jeskla jumped forwards. Velia has the Crescent Guard up. If I'm in the Crescent Guard, I do damage. However, leaping face first into the set of champions that he did, including the Xin Zhao, including Rakan as well. I mean, he insta-dies in that situation for good reason, right? There's absolutely no universe in which that's a good decision. And that's unfortunate, right? He had that early kill, had those Young Tower arrows completed, was beginning to get himself into a decent spot. Now he's down by a good chunk of CS. Puts the kill over to a key member of Los Ratones as well. This is just about going to be able to dodge away from that rupture, so he's going to survive. And this is another game where you get yourself a small advantage as Kaufland, but unfortunately Los Ratones, they just played the map better, and it's really hard to see a way for Kaufland to be able to win when your opponents are playing the Rift better, when you've got yourself 2 global ultis.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if nerves are also playing a part in this. I would expect that Kaufland obviously know they're not going into this series thinking they have a huge chance at winning. It takes a lot more than them just playing well for, their level of play. It also takes Los Ratones to make a few mistakes, I think, and that's just very, very unlikely, and they are well aware of that. So I think what they are trying to take away from this is experience. I know they have scrimped them every now and then. I've heard of it. Did it go well? I prefer not to speak.
Now, I mean, picking up any wins versus Los Ratones is going to be pretty tricky. We came into the last EMEA Masters questioning whether they were going to lose a single game at all. Obviously, they did. They lost to Carmine Corp Blue, and then were still able to go on to be the champions. A lot of pressure right here on Kaufland to put through a good performance. And Los Ratones, they do make mistakes, but it tends to be in the early stages, situations where potentially Baus loses a couple too many kills over. Right now,
nice
they're just playing this one well. Wisdom is just going to be able to get away from this one. You don't quite have enough splinters right now to be able to fully get the execute in this situation, but you can see just how low Brandon ends up going. Going to be a little bit of a reset. The next big thing to fight over is going to be this Drake up and available. There is also a Herald that you can go towards.
Oh my god.
Drake.
I just got so scared. I thought my man was going to ult into the Drake pit. For a second there, I thought he's going to go absolutely nuts, but he decided he wants to go for the Herald instead, which of course makes a lot more sense.
I'm certain that he thought about it. Oh, not again.
Oh my god.
No.
Have you seen the Tristana? Because I most certainly can't see her. She's not. She's not on the map. She hasn't been on the map for real.
The rotation coming through just about. Rabble is able to
pick up
pick
that
up
eye.
the Herald, but yeah, does anybody grab it? Wisdom. Yep, there we go. He's probably gonna die for this one unless he's got his fanciest feat.
Well, he's definitely trying to make a run for it as a Nemesis able to pick up the first turret for the side of Los Ratones, who now have a gold lead of about 2.6k. Wisdom, of course, going down. Yeah, well, it's a fight between supports. If it happens, it happens. I think he was well aware of that, as Venur now looking to get something back here in the 1v1 versus Baus, but he also has lost out when it comes to farm quite a bit. And Baus, of course, a farming machine on the side lane, doing a great job at that. And we're getting closer to the moment where you gotta wonder who's gonna kill him. I know who won't. It's not gonna be Venur, because he's dead. And so is the turret. And what looked like a decent, let's say, first 10 minutes. Let's give them 10 minutes.
All right.
It's turning into an absolute nightmare here for the Kaufland Hangry Knights. And Jeskla will be able to pick up this turret, which is cool. But it's not really that much of a redemption.
Something. That is some gold going back over into the pockets.
Small wins.
Exactly, small wins. And I think in this situation, right, when you're probably outclassed by a significant margin, small wins is going to be important. The fact that they were able to get themselves a couple of early kills, found them onto Baus, weren't losing too much. Well, one of the players they lost quite a lot for that one. Global Taunt is potentially real. I have to keep checking in on that one as we move through the stages here of the EMEA Masters Spring. But right now, you can see a lot of aggression going down again between these two top laners. Now, Venor knows the Baus doesn't have the Nom available right now. Goes in.
Public execution hits, very nice. Thrown back here into Random's face, and therefore they managed to pick up the kill. Important kill, I'm not gonna lie, Venur needs some time on the side lane, so does Random. They do have the potential to match this, even a Tristana can. They're just not getting any time, because Nemesis, of course, as well, doing a great job here, forcing these waves in.
Absolutely. I mean, how often, right, do we see people who are 0-0 and 0 have themselves a shutdown? But that's just how well Nemesis has been able to farm, grab himself a couple of turret plates as well, and just to put himself in a really strong position. He's got that Cosmic Drive Blackfire Torch combo, which is a little bit of an odd one. You usually see just pure damage, but in this situation, right, Baus is doing plenty, Crowny, Velia, they're all going to be doing plenty of damage as well. You don't have to worry quite so much about the full damage, just being able to land those ability, land the Scatter the Leap, hit the ulti. He's still going to be doing more than enough. Yeah, you can see it here. Venor just going to have to turn tail and run in this situation, and then he's so fast, just going to be able to push the top laner. For Kaufland away from this one. Baus, he's looking for another solo bolo, and yeah.
Yeah, he can. I mean, Random, he tries to flash away, he tries to dish out some damage. He might actually make it out alive, which is good news. Well, let's see. Feast is not available for him, and therefore Random actually wins this one. It's not a 1v1.
Look top. This is the thing.
They're losing.
Pulling so many members over to deal with Lost Returners' top lane that you're forgetting that they have 4 other members. I know sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel like it, but there are other players on this map. They're going to be able to pick up that tier 2 tower in the top lane. Going to be turned around into a tier 2 tower for Kaufland in the bot side, and they are going to do a little bit of drifting. Does he get to keep his driver's license? Come on. He does! Yes!
Good job. That's my support, or something, I don't know. He's trying. His clone is also trying very hard as they're looking to get another fight on the board. Crowny having to use the ultimate. A bit of a defensive ult there from him. Doesn't have the feather pullback. But we still end up losing Random in this team fight, and now they're looking to pick up Rebel as well. Not really anything he can do. It's the double kill for Nemesis, who has been playing a killer series so far. First game was great. The charms that he hit really did make a huge difference for the team as Wisdom goes down as well on the side. And now on the Syndra as well. He's just putting in the work, and Lost Ratones, whenever Kaufland find a pick, whenever they find the tiny win for themselves, Lost Ratones crash their hopes and dreams just right then and there.
Really, I think actually for that Herald play, it ended up being slightly negative, if not, it really didn't grab them too much. Venor being able to pick up this top lane tower is going to help some. Brings the gold lead down to only 4,000 in the favor of Lost Returners. But as we've been talking about, right, the Lost Returners, they've got so much scaling that they can play around right here. The Syndra already got 100 Splinter stacks. Nemesis in a very strong position. Going to use it right here to just one-tap Random. I was going to say not quite one-tap him, but...
Oh, we do get a little bit of redemption here as we're all coming over it. Yesta even in the fight as well. Very nice Pop Blossom. This is what I mean when I say Random can turn plays around. They find the kill onto Reckless as well. Another shutdown in the bags, and they're looking to at least minimize that gold lead a little bit. But now against Baus and Velia, it's not going to be as easy. Crowny, obviously also in the area. There's not really anything you can fight for apart from this Atakan. I'm not sure this is the objective for you to start now. As we all know, Atakan is the new Baron throw. You know, anything can happen. And this objective is up for grabs. Is Velia looking to find a way in. Baus, obviously, looking as well. Maybe he can find a knockup. Maybe they can capitalize off of that. And Crowny as well, looking to throw in some feathers, having the feather pullback. But in the end, it's the Atakan for Kaufland.
Okay.
And that is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, I'm pretty surprised. I really thought the Baus was going to be able to step up enough, potentially try to nom that one away, at least get a little bit of an engage onto Rabble. Fortunately, for Lost Returners, they just don't manage to pick that one up, and that comes off of the back, as you said it, on that turnaround play from Wisdom. Still, as the resets come back through, yeah, as you said it, right, you're losing so much. Velia does get jumped, takes a tower down shot as well, but he's got friends in the area. Nemesis could probably just one-tap Rabble as well. We saw he was able to get that initial solo kill onto Random straight through the Seraph shield. This champion is doing ridiculous amounts of damage at this point, but with all of the objectives now off of the board for a little while, this is just going to be back to pushing these waves, trying to take down these towers. The towers have really been falling all across the board. 4 for Lost Ratones, 3 for Kaufland. That's very fast for this amount of towers to go down.
I think it's an interesting conversation to have if Atakan is actually important. As we can see, Bao's being picked up once more. Not sure how much gold he's worth anymore, but hey, of course, take him away as Nemesis, using all he got in order to kill off Wisdom once more. And I think it's interesting because chat is kind of torn about, oh, does Atakan here matter? Is it important? I think if you're up 3 Drakes, it does matter a little bit because it does give you that little extra when it comes to having the soul. But I know who's not getting any extra today. It's Random, because he's dead again.
Yeah, he's having a pretty bad time of it so far. Got one tapped earlier, gets slowly taken down in this situation. Nemesis doesn't even need to have the ulti up and available to be able to grab that kill. And this is a real issue, right? Because something you're really looking to play around with this kind of composition is those global ultis. We haven't actually seen a situation in which the Weaver's Wall is used alongside that Grand Starfall from Rebel to go try find a pick onto anybody. The only time they've really used it is to try get Baus on the side lane, and as that's happening, they're losing another objective on the backside or another tower. They're just constantly not finding these proactive picks that they need to. Baus is taking up so much oxygen in the room, it feels like Kaufland can't play the rest of the map. They really need to take their focus off of this Cho'Gath. Yes, you're going to probably lose a couple waves in the top side or whatever, but if these key members with big shutdowns are allowed to stay alive, well, that's going to be your big problem. There's a huge amount of gold available to them on shutdowns. If you can kill Velia, Nemesis, or Crowley, those have got to be your targets.
Well, let's see if Kaufland can find a little miracle here. The gold lead isn't too big, it's only 4k, but it's still enough to put them in a very awkward position, especially with all of these turrets being down. They're looking for another catch in the jungle here, but again, the Crescent Guard, it's being used and there's not really anything you can do as Rebel drops dead like a fly on the side. We get another Pop Blossom, but is there any follow-up damage? Velia looking to make it out, but in the end, everyone's going down. They're dropping like flies. And it is Random and Venu against the world. They're trying to trade something back. Random actually dishing out some decent damage, but again, it is Nemesis moving in as soon as he joins the fight. The thing is just unplayable. Weaver's Wall being used to split them away just a little bit. Ultimate is gone. And now with the TP in, Venu trying to save the turret, trying to buy some space for his team to stay alive in this specific series, but of course also in EMEA Masters, because yes, a win against Los Ratones is unrealistic, but every win is super, super necessary because the group isn't the easiest. You still have Barca to face, or potentially any other team, depending on how it all is going to go.
Absolutely, it's a brutal format, right? You get a couple of best of threes. If you lose here, you've got one best of 3 that you've got to win, then another best of 3 that you've got to win, and it's just super rough to be able to get out of this group and into the playoffs. Los Ratones, right, they're trying to not look too far ahead, but right now, this game at least feels like it's going in their favor pretty significantly. 6,500 gold. The issue in that team fight was they were pretty split right there. For Kaufland, they're also so far behind, but they're not doing any damage through their main carries. And Rabble really has fallen quite far behind. Drake started up right here. This is going to be Soul if Los Ratones can grab it for themselves. There's no follow-up from Kaufland, and now here comes Los Ratones potentially looking to engage onto this fight.
It is Wisdom finding a very nice Pop Blossom, but now they need to dish out the damage. It's a kill for Venu on the backline, but everyone else is just going down. Perfect reaction from Los Ratones as they realize they can easily pick up both Random, Jeskla, and of course Rebel as well. And now it's Venu and Wisdom against the world. They have to try and keep this game alive, keep the hopes alive for Kaufland to maybe go to a third game here, but it looks pretty done and dusted as Los Ratones are looking to pick up this inhib, maybe even go for more. In the end, it's really just 2 members left standing.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a wave coming in through the top side of the map as well. Venu, Wisdom trying their best, like you said, trying to deal some damage onto Velia, but he's just got so much survivability. Anytime that you've got yourself that Thunder Sky, you can just sit here. Baus finally taking a little chunk of damage. Here comes the Grand Starfall.
Oh, he's a bit too far forward. The rest of his team not able to follow up as Yesla is trying to kill Baus, but he's really just a wall in your face that you cannot do anything about. And now Reckless obviously dropping low, going down eventually, but is that enough? Feathers have been caught, feathers have been pulled back. Baus on a killing spree, putting on a show, and the NLC first seed are totally living up to the high expectations. They are the defending champions, and they want to show that they can do it again. They have taken over the NLC by storm. They have struggled only to the smallest amounts, but they are taking this easily, and it's going to be the 2-0 for Los Ratones, who are doing the NLC fans proud.
Absolutely, they are. Los Ratones going to be able to pick this one up with a clean 2-0. The early games, a little bit closer for Kaufland. They were able to fight back in those very specific situations, but once we got to the late game team fight, it